Chapter 5. Julia now was looking at the photograph of herself in her wedding dress. Christ, what a sight I looked! They decided to keep their engagement to themselves, and Julia told no one about it but Jimmy Langton, 2 or 3 girls in the company, and her dresser. She vowed them to secrecy, and could not understand how, within 48 hours, everyone in the theater seemed to know all about it. Julia was divinely happy. She loved Michael more passionately than ever, and would gladly have married him there and then, but his good sense prevailed. They were at present no more than a couple of provincial actors, and to start their conquest of London as a married couple would jeopardize their chances. Julia showed him as clearly as she knew how, and this was very clearly indeed, that she was quite willing to become his mistress. But this he refused. He was too honorable to take advantage of her. "I could not love thee, dear, so much loved I not honor more," he quoted. He felt sure that when they were married they would bitterly regret it if they lived together before as man and wife. Julia was proud of his principles. He was a kind and affectionate lover, but in a very short while seemed to take her a trifle for granted. By his manner, friendly but casual, you might have thought that they had been married for years. But he showed great good nature in allowing Julia to make love to him. She adored to sit cuddled up to him with his arms round her waist, her face against his, and it was heaven when she could press her eager mouth against his rather thin lips. Though when they sat side by side like that, he preferred to talk of the parts they were studying or make plans for the future. He made her very happy. She never tired of praising his beauty. It was heavenly when she told him how exquisite his nose was, and how lovely his russet, curly hair, to feel his hold on her tighten a little, and to see the tenderness in his eyes. "Darling, you'll make me as vain as a peacock. It would be so silly to pretend you weren't divinely handsome." Julia thought he was, and she said it because she liked saying it, but she said it also because she knew he liked to hear it. He had affection and admiration for her, he felt at ease with her, and he had confidence in her, but she was well aware that he was not in love with her. She consoled herself by thinking that he loved her as much as he was capable of loving, and she thought that when they were married, when they slept together, her own passion would excite an equal passion in him. Meanwhile she exercised all her tact and all her self-control. She knew she could not afford to bore him. She knew she must never let him feel that she was a burden or a responsibility. He might desert her for a game of golf, or to lunch with a casual acquaintance. She never let him see for a moment that she was hurt, and with an inkling that her success as an actress strengthened his feeling for her, she worked like a dog to play well. When they had been engaged for rather more than a year, an American manager, looking for talent and having heard of Jimmy Langton's repertory company, came to Middlepool, and was greatly taken by Michael. He sent him round a note asking him to come to his hotel on the following afternoon. Michael, breathless with excitement, showed it to Julia. It could only mean that he was going to offer him a part. Her heart sank, but she pretended that she was as excited as he, and went with him next day to the hotel. She was to wait in the lobby while Michael saw the great man. "Wish me luck," he whispered, as he turned from her to enter the lift. "It's almost too good to be true." Julia sat in a great leather armchair, willing with all her might the American manager to offer a part that Michael would refuse, or a salary that he felt it would be beneath his dignity to accept, or, alternatively, that he should get Michael to read the part he had in view, and come to the conclusion that he could not touch it. But when she saw Michael coming towards her half an hour later, his eyes bright and his step swinging, she knew he had clicked. For a moment she thought she was going to be sick, and when she forced on her face an eager, happy smile, she felt that her muscles were stiff and hard. "It's all right. He says it's a damned good part, a boy's part, 19. 8 or 10 weeks in New York and then on the road. It's a safe 40 weeks with John Drew, $250 a week." Darling, how wonderful for you." It was quite clear that he had accepted with alacrity. The thought of refusing had never even occurred to him. And she thought, if they offered me $1,000 a week, I wouldn't have gone if it meant being separated from Michael. Black despair seized her. She could do nothing. She must pretend to be as delighted as he was. He was too much excited to sit still, and took her out into the crowded street to walk. It's a wonderful chance. Of course, America's expensive, but I ought to be able to live on $50 a week at the outside. They say the Americans are awfully hospitable, and I shall get a lot of free meals. I don't see why I shouldn't save $8,000 in the 40 weeks, and that's £1,600. He doesn't love me. He doesn't care a damn about me. I hate him. I'd like to kill him. Blast that American manager. And if he takes me on for a second year, I'm to get $300. That means that in 2 years, I'd have the best part of £4,000, almost enough to start management on. A second year? For a moment, Julia lost control of herself, and her voice was heavy with tears. Do you mean to say you'll be gone 2 years? Oh, I should come back next summer, of course. They pay my fare back, and I'd go and live at home so as not to spend any money. I don't know how I'm going to get on without you. She said the words very brightly, so that they sounded polite, but somewhat casual. Well, we can have a grand time together in the summer, and a year, 2 years at the outside, well, it passes like a flash of lightning. Michael had been walking at random, but Julia, without his noticing, had guided him in the direction she wished, and now they arrived in front of the theater. She stopped. I'll see you later. I've got to pop up and see Jimmy. His face fell. You're not going to leave me now. I must talk to somebody. I thought we might go and have a snack together before the show. I'm terribly sorry. Jimmy's expecting me, and you know what he is. Michael gave her his sweet, good-natured smile. Well, go on then. I'm not going to hold it up against you, because for once you've let me down. He walked on, and she went in by the stage door. Jimmy Langton had arranged himself a tiny flat under the roof to which you gained access to the balcony. She rang the bell of his front door, and he opened it himself. He was surprised, but pleased to see her.